Hello and welcome everyone to another L-Acoustics webinar. My name is Scott Sugden, Product and Technology Outreach Manager here at L-Acoustics. I'm coming to you today from our office in Westlake Village, and I have brought the expert among experts along to talk all about Soundvision 3.4. Sam, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Sam, you're coming from, looks like your home office. I can't quite tell in the background. It looks sunny there. This seems unusual.
It's very unusual, but we deserve one day every now and then, right?
Yeah, good. I'm glad that Southern California is rubbing off on my colleagues over in the UK. So, Sam, today we're talking all about Soundvision 3.4, which came out about 2 weeks ago, if I recall.
Correct, yes. So we've worked quite hard at a few updates, well, a lot of updates in this version, which I think you guys will be very happy with.
And this is a lot of these updates are really user centric, right? This is we were just joking before we went on air that we've added a toolbox, the first new toolbox in Soundvision in a long time.
That is correct. So there's a real big drive at the moment to bring user centric features, things that will just make Soundvision so much more intuitive, a pleasure to use.
Sure.
So there's a big drive for that at the moment that we've really concentrated on.
Sure.
With this release.
Sure, that's great. So the camera toolbox, right? That's kind of the big new thing, and it seems fairly simple, but there's actually a lot to it, and there's a lot of functionality that can really help your day-to-day process. And it takes it took me less than a minute to get used to the change, and it's hard to go back.
That is correct. So when we delve into things, you'll see it's not just the camera toolbox that has been changed with Soundvision 3.4. There's a load of small details, which when we build up is very natural to the user with regards to navigating the 3D scene. And again, as you said, after just a few minutes of use, the minute you go back to, for example, using Soundvision 3.3, suddenly it's almost like you've forgotten how to use it again. So 3.4 is very natural to the user.
That's great. So what's the first thing we're going to get into is obviously the simplest thing. In the past, every version of Soundvision up until 2 weeks ago, the camera was always focused at the origin, right? You couldn't change that focus position? Correct.
So yes, the first thing I guess we're going to talk about is this whole, the updates to the 3D scene interaction. And there's a real drive behind this due to trying to make this more universal. So I don't know about you, but with regards to a lot of people on the road touring, whether it's installs, whether it's touring, you have to know so many different pieces of software, whether it's from, again, alternative manufacturers, whether it's CAD, whether it's SketchUp, Vectorworks, whatever software you're using, they all interact. But for the most part, they try to interact the same way. However, it's so frustrating when you come to a piece of software that interacts differently. You have to know how to adapt to each piece of software. So what we tried to do with this version is to make this much more natural, both for experienced users and for new users. So the first thing that we updated was now, rather than updating about the origin of the drawing, the 3D scene window rotates around whatever is centered in the 3D scene window. So for example, if we zoom into the corner here, if I want to now focus on the stage from this position, I can simply rotate around this point.
Yeah, wow.
So this is much more natural to use.
Yeah, it feels like every CAD program, right? At that point, that's a very similar behavior.
Exactly. One of the other things that you may or may not have noticed when doing that is actually we've also changed the focus of the zoom. So if I want to, again, zoom in and focus on this point here, I now don't need to have it centered in the 3D scene. I can zoom in to wherever the cursor is. So for example, if I want to zoom into front of house, I move the cursor there and I can zoom in. If I want to zoom into my side hang, I can move the cursor and zoom in again. So again, it's much more natural to focus very quickly on the part of the drawing that you want to.
Yeah, and are you actually zooming, or is the camera position changing, or is it both?
So it's actually the camera position that's moving forward as we move the scroll wheel on the mouse.
Got it. Oh, cool.
And we'll have a look at that in more detail when we see the Camera Toolbox.
That's cool. And one of the things that was always challenging, this model is well detailed, right? But it's not what I would consider to be we jokingly call it economy class and business class. This would not be a first class model, right? This is a very adequate.
Not at all. This is a quick and simple demo.
I think this is a premium economy model. It's better than just a ground plane, right? You get peanuts and a hot meal. So this is okay. But a lot of times when I'm trying to interact with a complex model, I accidentally click on the wrong thing. So has anything changed on that front?
Oh, yes. So one of the things that has been frustrating users for years, I would say, whether you're new to the software or experienced, is you can be close to finishing a design and then you want to move the model and you've accidentally clicked on a source and thrown it across the venue. That has happened so many times, whether you're aware of how to do this or by accident, the mistake still gets made. So we actually wanted to change how this is done and trying to prevent this from occurring for the users. So what we've done here is evaluate the majority of actions in the 3D scene. And primarily, it's navigating the venue. So modeling the venue and drawing is such a small part. However, designing the system and moving from different views is the majority of this interaction. So what we did is we chose by default, any click and drag movement of the mouse will always move the scene and never an object. So I can have the cursor over a source, and if I click and drag, I still move the scene. What we have updated here is if the user does want to move a source, they click once to select the source, and then they can click on it again and drag to move. So it's a two-step function, effectively. If they want to move a source, click to select it, and then we move it. On top of that, because we've changed the way the source interacts, we've also applied this to room data objects. So both edges and points, we now click to select and then click again to drag. So this is exactly the same. If we're modeling a venue and we want to create a new surface, in the past, we could just drag an edge or a point directly into the 3D room data window. Now, because we have put preference on moving the 3D scene, if we try and drag straight away, we can't do that. So we click to select it first, and then click and drag.
Yeah, it's going to be great because there's so many times you're trying to grab a point or a line and it's just hopping all over the place when it's a really complex model. So now clearly identify by clicking on it, highlights it, and then move it again.
Correct. Yeah.
That's great. So obviously we've cleaned up the interaction, the way the mouse interacts with the 3D scene, the way you interact with loudspeakers in the 3D scene. So it's still completely possible to manipulate a loudspeaker in the 3D scene. Its position, I'm assuming we can still modify its azimuth with one additional
click. With a second click?
Yep.
Yes, so it's click once, click again. Oh. And you'll notice we only have the one green arrow here.
Yep, and then we're in rotation mode now. Yep. Yeah, I got it. That's great. So
yes.
Same as before. It's just that initial first click to select. So what we've done is said, okay, same behavior as before, but you have to select it first, then you can move. Click one more time, then you can rotate.
Correct.
Yeah, that was always nice. I mean, a lot of the times though too, I use that function of click, drag, and rotate to kind of set a loudspeaker in a view, right? Like I would like put a speaker at front of house so I could see what it looked like there, because of course that was the only way to get a different view, wasn't it? So I'm assuming we can maybe do better things now than that.
Yes, we can. So this brings me on, I guess, to the main feature, which is the Camera Toolbox. So this is ultimately it's a way to save views for your drawing. So if we click on the camera icon up here, this will display the Camera Toolbox, which is ultimately looks very familiar to every other toolbox window that we've seen. This is a dockable window, so we can choose to dock it on the side, and this will be saved with custom layouts.
Cool.
From here, you'll notice it's a very, very simple interface that is not unfamiliar to Soundvision users, whereby which we can either create a new camera or a new group. So to start with, we want to create a new camera. So we like this view in the 3D scene, and we want to save that. So we simply click on New Camera. We can see that a camera has been added here. Now, ultimately, this is the view saved. There's nothing more to do. So as a user, I can navigate my scene, zoom in somewhere else. And if I click on this new camera, instantly, I'm back in my saved view. So at a very simple level, this is what this does. It allows us to build up multiple different views. And there are different applications as to why you would want to use a camera. For some people, it is simply positioning themselves in the audience and seeing what the venue looks like. It could be to show to clients. It could be that we have specific views for looking at mapping under balconies at certain heights, or it could be that we've set up a load of views along the top bleachers to see if our sight lines to stage are clear, so that we can work our way along and check this. So we can see that very quickly we could build up a lot of saved views. We could have up, 50 or more saved views that we want to go through. So with the camera, it's very quick and easy to set up a view. As we said, we navigate to where we want, and we can click New Camera, and now we have another view.
No, it's great.
This is great. But ultimately, the power of this is that we can really position the camera appropriately to make this, to get the exact shots we want. So for a lot of people, they could be designing for an install, for a specific show, where they need to produce documentation to show the full design. Anyone that knows they have to sell jobs to people with the money, know they have to produce good pictures.
Yeah, of course.
So this is where we very quickly want to be able to build up these different views. So having the position window here allows us to do that and allows us to be very accurate with it. So we see the position window for each of our camera items, objects, and we can edit the coordinates. With a simple stage like this, it's very easy to say, okay, well, if we want to frame the stage, we want to be in the middle of the room, so we set X to 0. We want to be facing the stage, so let's put the azimuth to 180 degrees, facing backwards. And already we've framed the stage.
Yeah.
So now we can bring ourselves down to, I've got an audience, so I'm going to go just above head height, he says. And let's look up at the stage. I'm actually behind front of house. That's brilliantly positioned. So I've come forward a bit. And
Sure.
you can see just how easy it is to frame this and get the exact shot that we want.
And I suppose the help here really is I've saved this. So when I'm making that fancy report for the event producer or the install, if I need to redo one shot with renderings from different speakers, I don't have to redo a bunch of things. It's just so much easier to come back and redo a little bit of work or go back to that same view.
Completely. The fact is you can now start your whole system design again almost if that's what requires.
Have the exact same
But you
shots.
still have those shots saved for the venue.
That's great. And I see, let's see, I see sight, azimuth, XYZ. That all makes sense. Angle of view, is that comparable to maybe like the lens on my camera? Is that what we're talking about?
Effectively, yes. So this defines the vertical angle of view. So by using this, we can effectively choose how much of the image is visible from our camera position. Why this is useful is, well, number one, to get really arty looking shots for reports. and to show clients. Or it could be to actually match what we see here in Soundvision with that of a real photograph. Now we have the position for our camera, and we have the vertical angle of view. It's very easy just using Google to find out what lens you need on your camera to have this exact image.
Oh, that's really neat. Yeah. So if we want to replicate the wide angle view of my iPhone or something, then we're going to put in 110 degree angle and realize that it doesn't look very good. Or we can telephoto in from far away and give maybe a little more perspective or something that might match that photo. So when I'm producing event photos and the lighting guy has a rendering with X angle of view, we can make a similar lighting or render in Soundvision to show that similar perspective. Here's what the sound will sound like, I guess, look like. It's hard. Here's what the sound will look and sound like. Yeah.
That is correct. So we have an upper limit of 90 degrees,
okay, which
is ultimately distorting what we see quite a lot. So we will see with the upper limit.
Oh yeah, yeah. From front of house,
exactly.
It's a pretty wide angle there.
Just wide angle, or again, we could really narrow that down and put in 20 degrees.
Sure.
And you can just about make out our arrays here.
Oh, that's really neat.
So in this scenario, without more detail in the drawing, it's hard to see. It doesn't necessarily look as impressive.
Sure.
However, for an example, in an actual an indoor venue, you can see the power of this tool. So I'm just going to swap very quickly to this drawing, which we can see has a lot of detail. This is the view from front of house. I have a couple of saved camera setups, so I can look at stage.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see there's a lot of detail here.
Yeah.
However, we can really open this up by using a larger angle of view. So if we open that up to 60, now we can see much more of our venue. And this is, number one, more true to real life and what we can see with our eyes a little bit. And, it's easier to show a client for something that they'll understand.
Sure.
So this is where we can play with the angle of view and get the right shots for the report.
So I have those cameras. I can see positions you can make, as you said, 50 or 100. I'm assuming there's no theoretical limit, or there's no approachable theoretical limit to the number of cameras, other than your madness in organization. Would that be a fair way to put it?
Indeed. We've not found a limit yet, put it that way.
All right. So that's a challenge, everyone out there on YouTube, Facebook, everything else. Find the limit in cameras and send it to Sam, courtesy L-Acoustics, France. Please go ahead and let him know. So obviously we have camera views. Is there a way to toggle in and out of cameras or like kind of standard views? Is there easy ways to jump back and forth? Are there new shortcuts?
So yes, we have quite a lot of new shortcuts in Soundvision 3.4. This is something we get regular requests from users for, because it's a natural way to navigate software. Where to get started? There is so much. So the first one, I guess, is cameras. If we've set up some cameras, I'm just going to set up some more cameras randomly here. A quick way to scroll through them. So if we click in the 3D scene to make sure that we're in this window, by holding down Control and pressing the left or right arrows, we can scroll through our camera views.
Oh, that's cool. Wow.
So this also doesn't need the Camera Toolbox open to do this. So at any point, as long as we click in the window, we can scroll through our camera views.
So that's neat. So like if you set up those, 16 cameras at the top row of the stadium to check your sight lines, you can be designing and trying to get that PA as low as possible. Or maybe it's that corporate event or special event. And the same thing, the designer tells you the PA must be 9 meters up because the video screens are 9 meters tall. And you explain to him or her that parallax is neat. And you don't have to worry about that. Right, or geometry, I guess, and you can just quickly bounce through all the different views that you set up, the preset worst case scenarios, if you will.
Exactly. So effectively, you can scroll through and move. move along the audience almost with your views
So,
to check that every seat is clear.
so Sam, have you recreated that one shot from The Matrix yet? You know, where you're getting out of the way of the bullet. Have you done that yet? No, you haven't done that yet. Okay.
I can't say I have. I mean, if I had that much free time, I'm sure I would.
Okay, got it. But you haven't done that yet. Got it. Just checking.
No.
Okay. All right. So once again, YouTube, Facebook, if somebody wants to dive out of the way, and if you could make that a Bob, so somebody could draw a Bob in Soundvision, have him get out of the way of the sound waves, that would be really neat to see on a Wednesday, Tuesday morning. So excellent. All right. So we can easily bounce through them with a keystroke. That's really neat. I see. It's totally. We didn't hit it. I see this lock button there, and I didn't ask you what that was.
Yes. So we have. So as well as the coordinates, we have a couple of other ways to interact and set up the camera view. The first one that I didn't touch on, which I'm just going to mention again, is that we actually have the camera position windows. So if we click on any of the axis labels, this brings up a camera position, which you may have seen works in exactly the same way as the source position window.
Got it.
So to look at this, we can see our camera is placed just in front of house here. And it's very easy just to click on the yellow line and set our sight angle this way.
Oh, that's cool.
And this also works for the azimuth as well. So these windows are very powerful as well to include in reports because it's easy to understand
where the camera
is in the venue.
Sure. So if you want to move that camera angle from there and say, I'm looking at if this was a large Eliza design, I'm looking at this view of the side of the stage and just orient the audience who's reading your report.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. That's really neat. And that actually feels like, it looks like it's pretty much the exact same window and toolbox that we use for loudspeakers. Is it that pretty much the case?
That is correct. It's exactly the same principle. It's nice and easy to see where the camera actually is, and we can move it in 3D if we want a really weird view, but it's actually quite a nice way to navigate your venue. So, we can walk throughout the audience and see everything.
Yeah.
There's a lot of power in these camera position windows.
That's cool.
So it's always worth noting that is there.
Yeah, and for everyone who doesn't use Soundvision as much as Sam does, if you notice when your mouse is on like any text in Soundvision, it changes shape, right? So it's a cursor and all of a sudden it's a little hand. And that's like the first rule that you should just click on it. It's Sam, you and I are a little older, so it's like playing Myst back in 1994. You should just click on everything, right? And sometimes stuff happens and you'll find the long lost book or I forget the rest of the storyline in that game. But yeah, click on things. If you see your hand cursor change to a hand, that indicates it's a functional button or a window that might open or a toolbox that might open.
That is correct, and that's across any window in Soundvision. So we can see again with a source, the cursor changes. So we can right click and see a menu, or as said before, you can left click to select it. So absolutely anywhere you'll find, as soon as the cursor changes to a hand.
Fantastic. So we have a lock button there too. So that's, I think, what I was trying to figuring that out.
So when we created the camera, we wanted a way that the user could save the view and still interact with the 3D scene without overwriting what they'd just created. So to put that into perspective, we didn't want the user to create a new camera, and then the minute they move the scene, that shot's been overwritten.
Got it.
So by default, this little padlock is locked. And you'll see from the tooltip, it tells us unlock to update the camera position using the 3D scene.
Got it.
So what I can do now is, this is my camera position. I click on the lock, and if you can see that, it's just opened up. There's an open padlock. Now, if I move the 3D scene, my coordinates update.
Yeah, got it.
So this is saving whatever I'm moving.
Yeah.
Once I'm happy with my position, I can either click off of the camera or click on the padlock to lock it again.
Got it.
So it's as simple as that to update the view using the 3D scene.
Oh, that's cool. So if I I just want to move the camera back a little bit, unlock it, scroll back a little, lock it back up. It's saved. I can't modify it from there. So that's a really simple and quite intuitive way to do that. I like that.
Yes. So on top of that, as you can see, now we have now we've got a number of cameras on there. We have a number of ways to set the position depending on what we want to achieve. You can see very quickly that this number of cameras will build up. So what we wanted is a quick way to group these and navigate these. So income groups. Nothing new here. Groups are within the Camera Toolbox are purely ways to group the cameras together. So there is no control data here. And what we can do is set up multiple groups. So we may have a group dedicated to mapping. We may have a group, which I've just created in there. We may have a group dedicated to the client. And I've done the same again. And we may have a group for, I don't know, top. So we can drag any number of cameras into different groups. I'm going to create, in fact, let's just grab that there for now. And I'm going to leave camera 5 ungrouped. So now this is a very quick way, at least, just to separate our cameras up and to organize them. If you remember before, I showed you the shortcut, how quickly to navigate these and scroll through these. We actually have another way to quickly select a camera, which doesn't involve the Camera Toolbox being open. So once we're happy with the views, we've saved the views, we don't necessarily need this window taking up space on the screen. So we can close this. And now, if we want to navigate to a specific view, we click on the little drop-down arrow next to the camera icon. And you can see we have both our camera and our groups. So now we get this sub-menu structure. So this was, again, just a nice way that meant we didn't always have to keep the Camera Toolbox open when it's not needed. And yet it's still quick to navigate.
And if you're working on a project that the design and iteration of the project might be days or weeks where you're in and out of that design multiple times, this is really nice because, you know, the initial layout of the show usually doesn't change a whole lot. The stage and the audience geometry and the set pieces are pretty consistent, right? But your PA design might modify based on expectations from the client, on the budget. And now I can pre-build a bunch of camera views. Here's front of house position. Here's, by the way, alternate front of house if you guys want it to be to the side. Here's the view from the VIP tables. Here's the view from the press deck. If it's a, you know, maybe a televised thing, what's that going to look like? What's their perspective going to be? That's really neat. And you can save all that and then close Soundvision, I'm assuming, and reopen, and it's all still there, right?
Correct. So all of the camera data is saved with the project file.
Got it.
So the main XMLP file.
Got it. So that's XMLP project is speakers, room, and camera now. And then you, of course, can save just the speaker file or just the room file independently.
Correct.
Got it. All right, that's really neat. So are there other new views or different views as well that aren't cameras?
So yes, we have a few more 3D scene interactions to go through, which we've introduced with this version. So we've had a look at rotating the venue. We've had a look at zooming into parts of the venue. We wanted to add in a few more shortcuts to make this more natural to users coming from other softwares. So the first small update, which again may not be used by a lot of people or may be used by some people for different reasons. In the past, well, currently, we right-click to pan and move the venue in that direction. What we've now introduced is that this can also be done by pressing Shift on the keyboard and left-clicking. So for users that have a trackpad which doesn't facilitate the right-click, for example, or for different reasons, this is much more in line with other software such as SketchUp. So if you're used to moving between the two softwares, this is a much more natural interaction for those users.
So that's a lot of really cool new ways to interact. Is there anything else new, like new ways to pan or tilt, or is that all the same as it was before?
So we've added one more keyboard shortcut actually to help demonstrate to clients what they will see from a specific seat in the venue. So to do this, the user simply presses and holds Alt on the keyboard whilst dragging the view around. And you can see we can now move around, pan and tilt
from a given position.
From a given position. So we can select our camera. Let's move now to close to the front row. And again, if we press Alt, we can look around at everything as if we were there.
Oh, got it. Great. That's really cool. I like that a lot. That's going to be a huge help when you're just trying to find a view for someone, for sure.
This isn't a new feature. This is just to reiterate and be complete. We have, by holding down the Control key on the keyboard and zooming in, we move in fine increments.
Got it.
This is the same for rotating the venue.
Got it. So if you just need a very slight adjustment, Control is fine. That's a pretty common keyboard modifier in a lot of software, isn't it?
It is indeed. So it should be quite natural. But the zoom speed is taken from the mouse scroll speed setting on a computer.
Got it.
So sometimes if you go to a new computer and set this up to use, you'll find you very quickly move throughout the venue. It's hard. You don't want to go and reconfigure someone's computer. So the Control key is just a very useful shortcut to know.
Yeah, got it. That makes sense. And or if my laptop, I'm using the same laptop for Soundvision as I do for web browsing, and I like that scroll speed fast, then here's a quick way that you don't have to be frustrated every time you have to go back to work.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, I dig that.
So the other thing is we've added some shortcuts for quick navigation of the 3D scene as well. So several times you might be working in very close detail to something.
Yep.
And want a quick way just to kind of step back almost.
Sure.
What we've added is 3 user shortcuts. So we press T for top.
Makes sense.
F for front.
Got it.
And S for side.
Got it.
And you can see we very quickly navigate to that view.
Got it. Is that a camera there, or is it just putting the current view in a position?
It's just putting the current view in a position.
Got it.
If we press either of those keys a second time, it will reverse the view. So for example, if we press F for front, we can press it again
near the back
to see from the other side.
Got it.
And exactly the same with S for side, we see the other side of the venue.
Oh, that's really cool.
So it's very quick to get the shot that we want. It's worth noting here that this is obviously the camera view that we're used to. This is a projection view.
Okay.
So what that means is I actually see perspective in here. We can see the sides of arrays, everything from our view that we're currently looking at. What we've always had in Soundvision is an orthographic view, which are these icons at the top. If we click on this is different to using T to go to the top view, because this draws every line on the vertical axis as if it's parallel.
Got it.
So why is this useful? Ultimately, for plans, it gives us this 2D plan of our drawing. So in this example, if I were to hide the roof.
That's where the PA is. And this is almost like an infinite view, if you will, from a distance, or is that a good way to explain it? You're infinitely far away?
Correct, that's it effectively. So you'll notice that no matter how far we zoom in, we don't get the sides of the PA here at any point.
Yeah.
So it's perfect for seeing, in this
2D.
Example, how far we are from a video screen. It could be making sure that the subs are lined up perfectly.
Got it.
Have space from the stage. And you'll notice if I come out of that view by toggling this icon again, if I go to top in this view.
Oh, sure. Now you can see perspective. Yeah.
you can see the perspective. As I move, you can see the side of the array or not.
It's a drone flight now versus a deity, right? Is that the difference? Drone versus God? Yeah,
I'd say that's a pretty good analogy.
Yeah, all right, got it. So, because from here it feels like you're, I don't know, maybe 30 meters flying above the roof, and somehow it magically disappeared, right? And you can see some perspective. And I suppose we could look at our camera coordinates and see how high our drone is right now, and then we would know.
We could, exactly. So opening the camera. So yeah, adding a new camera here, we can click on that and see that actually we're 63 meters in the air.
Ooh, how tall's the roof? Let's see. Was it 30 meters? I'm probably off by about 10.
We're under, I think. We are. It's a low roof.
Oh, so okay. So we're 40 meters. My drone height analysis was poor. Got it.
But yeah, okay. So there's a big difference between the keyboard shortcuts giving you this real life perspective view and these shortcuts at the top, which will give you this orthographic view, so this 2D plan.
Got it.
So this can be used for the top, the front, back, and the sides as well.
Okay, got it. So yeah, that's a really nice way to obviously transmit data once again to other departments, and just sometimes 3D can be confusing if you don't have context well, or your angle of view, you don't know those bits of information. So it's sometimes helpful just to go, here's the 2D top, 2D cut or side, 2D front, and send that out just to give people a quick understanding of that.
Yes.
That's great. So lots of new stuff, and all of this. I mean, this is what's fun is sometimes in Soundvision we do updates, and it's introducing a new product, right? It's Camera 2 has been entered into Soundvision. K3 is in Soundvision now for the users. Sometimes it's behind the scenes stuff. Oh, we've done a bunch of work to rework the engine so that we're building for something that's coming soon that we can't tell you about, right? And sometimes it's very much a user feature like a Camera Toolbox or other improvements along that way. Double clicking was the last one. Was double clicking on the SPL target was great, to automatically set that. I don't know if everyone discovered that. If not, have at it. It's a lot of fun. So there's a lot of new stuff here. This is all cameras. This is all positional. This is all interaction with Soundvision, so you guys can design better and create better shows. Is there anything else? Was there? Did we add a new product that we forgot to tell everyone about, or is that coming soon?
I'm afraid not in this version.
Got it. So I
can't give too much away, but there is.
Oh, Sam, you can tell us
stuff
more.
Very soon.
Oh, Sam, come on. So what is next, Sam? Are we getting a Soundvision for Soundvision 4, Soundvision 5? Are we Auto Flight PA? Is that next? What's the next thing?
If only I could say. We have many projects going on at the same time, and
oh man,
some of them will be very soon.
All right. So if people have questions, obviously we are doing online training right now, system fundamentals, different training seminars. You can join one of those if you'd like via our website. If people have questions, how do they reach Sam and the rest of the team at Soundvision Development?
So any questions at all, get in touch with soundvision at L-Acoustics.com. Send us an email. It doesn't matter how big or small. It could just be a little bit of feedback, suggestions. It could be Soundvision has problems for you. We're absolutely happy to help. So just send us an email and we'll do our best to help. And yeah, feature requests, things that you want to see, we very much welcome.
Yeah, right. Because in the world of product development, the more noise we hear about something, i.e. a bug or a feature, the easier it is to prioritize, right? So if all of you request right now that you want a drone flight overview mode, then that might get pushed up the ladder, right? Then if only one person does, if everyone says, hey, we're having an issue with Soundvision on this computer setup, then that helps us know that what's going on or not. So definitely reach out to Sam and the rest of the team at Soundvision. And there's an update coming soon that has more features that we can't say, or possibly products, or possibly nothing. Is that correct?
You pretty much summed that up perfectly.
Okay, good. To everyone joining us today, obviously, if you have questions, don't hesitate to send stuff to Sam on Soundvision. You can always reach out to us via social media. Our teams will do best to answer as best and quickly as they can. Hopefully today, if you were watching live, we were able to answer some questions in the chat as best as possible as well. Sam, thanks for joining us today.
No, absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And everyone, be safe, be well. We'll see you soon, and cheers. Bye.
Bye.